of the United States.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Washington, D.C., capital of the United States, and my new home. I've been a big fan of this young man ever since I first saw him working at the Ramada Inn in Little Rock, Arkansas. He was the opening act for a female singer whose name slips my mind. But certainly his name doesn't. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the king of pop references, Dennis Miller.
Thank you. That, of course, would be your big live Corey Feldman opening. You know, I must be nervous. When I did that, I noticed that I left my dick back at the hotel, and if you send a runner over to the Four Seasons, room 428, there should be a big dick on the desk, okay? All right, call the Guinness people. New world record. Fastest dick joke in an HBO special. Yeah, thank you. Get the feeling Michael Jackson has a portrait of himself in the attic that gets darker with each passing year. By the way, Mike and George Hamilton have now officially crossed lines on the pigmentation axis. Nice to be back here at Lisner Auditorium, George Washington University. I did my first HBO special here. Mr. Miller Goes to Washington. Thank you. Place looks beautiful, surrounded by all the American icons. Lincoln, as we love to remember him, at the helm of the Starship Enterprise. And Spock, phasers on Emancipate. We are live tonight. It's Saturday night, 9:31 Eastern Standard Time, March 27th, 1993, and the World Trade Center bomber is in custody. You know, this case hasn't been as hard to crack as they thought it was going to be. Evidently, the guy was walking around Cairo in an I Blew Up the World Trade Center t-shirt, and the devious workings of the terrorist mind. You know, he was a cab driver. I just came in from the airport. My cab driver smelled like a man eating gorgonzola cheese while getting a permanent in the septic tank of a slaughterhouse. I said, hey, pal, there's an extra 5 in it for you if you run over a fucking skunk, all right? Yeah. Take the fin, get an Airwick suppository, all right? Thank you, Sulphur Lad. Yeah. Left my sunglasses in the cab. I go through eyewear like Mo Green. A little crick in my neck tonight from watching Hasselhoff holding his stomach on Baywatch. Wow. Yeah. You thought the Tibetan yogis had muscle control, huh? And if my manner appears a little hesitant, you'll have to forgive me. I haven't done this a lot in the last year. I had a talk show for a while, but now I'm an asshole again. And I guess, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'd follow you into hell, you magnificent sons of bitches. Sorry, I was channeling James Whitmore there. Guess many of you heard about my much ballyhooed feud with Jay Leno. It's true, Jay and I don't see eye to eye on everything, but I'm not blaming him for the cancellation of my show. Indeed, the culpability flowchart on the demise of my show read like the genealogy of the kid on the porch in Deliverance, but I'm reasonably sure it had something to do with using words like genealogy, which I think many Americans believe to be... I think many Americans believe to be when Barbara Eden visits her OB-GYN. Oh well, what does not kill me makes me funnier. And, you know something, if that's the worst thing that ever happens to you in life, losing a television show, then you're truly leading a charmed existence, because from where I sit, it appears that life can be absolutely fucking brutal. I view life like a big, desperate bear loose in the campground. I try to avert its gaze, because if you lock eyes with it, it thinks you want to play. It doesn't know its own strength, and it just starts beating the living shit out of you. All in the name of good, clean Kodiak fun. Although I miss television, a rapidly changing medium, most people have now crazy glued down the scan button on the remote control, and the average American attention span is that of a ferret on a double espresso. We have an amazing proliferation of television channels now. In the latter part of last year, we were introduced to the 24-hour all-cartoon channel. 24-hour... Thank you for taking a stand in life. The 24-hour science fiction channel. Of course, to make room for these in the Dow, they got rid of the literacy channel and the what's left of fucking civilization channel. A lot of infomercials out there, huh? Hey, when did Bruce Jenner turn into Miss Hathaway from the Beverly Hillbillies, huh? When did that happen? Bruce, ease back on the caloric burn throttle, all right? Have a Cinnabon, for Christ's sake. Starting to make Ichabod Crane look like Lee Haney. Television technology continues to grow by leaps and bounds. Scientists estimate by the end of the century, via the means of virtual reality, a man will be able to simulate making love to any woman he wants to through his television set. You know, folks, today an unemployed iron worker can lay in his Barcalounger with a Foster's in one hand and a channel flicker in the other and fuck Claudia Schiffer for $19.95. It's going to make crack look like Sanka, all right? I vent, therefore I am. Get a level on the room. Anybody here ever gotten laid by a dinner date after they paid for the dinner with an Entertainment 93 coupon book? Kind of tough to close that sexual deal after you whip out that half-price Carnauba Wax prime rib putt-putt ticket, you know. At that point, she's not exactly reading you as David Niven, huh? Nice to be here in Washington, D.C., eclectic little city. Met some friends for a drink last night at a lesbian bar called the No-Fly Zone. Staying over here in the delightful Hotel Terminus. I share a common sitting room with Klaus Barbie and Klaus Ken. I have a humidifier in my room. It has two settings, off and Hound of the Baskervilles. You know, I'm always amazed what the maids in hotels assume that you might not want them to throw out. Well, maybe he wants that fossilized cantaloupe rind with a cigarette butt ground out into it. Maybe that's a keeper, huh? Unless, of course, it's something truly essential. Stella, have you seen my dialysis machine? Oh, Mr. Miller, I threw that out. I thought your kidneys served that function. Stella, you know my kidneys don't work. No, I do not know that. I was off that day. It was Cinco de Mayo. When shopping today over here at the Mall of the Living Dead, I got stuck behind an 854-year-old woman at the bank machine, if I counted the rings correctly. She was, I think it was Oblivia de Havilland, and she was attempting a hostile takeover of RJR Nabisco through the fucking machine. Yeah. You know, you're never more indignant in life than when you're shopping in a store that you feel is beneath you, and one of the other customers mistakes you for an employee of that store. Parked in a parking garage, very frustrating. I lost my ticket. You know, they go back to the Battle of Hastings to figure out what you owe. Battle of Hastings, 1066. What is the historical significance of the Battle of Hastings in the annals of contemporary warfare? First time the bow was used in modern warfare. Evidently, up until that point, they had all worn the longer clip-on ties, but they found that the enemy was easily sneaking up from behind and garroting them with their own cravat. And, you know, certainly you saw that punchline coming miles away in the distance, like Omar Sharif approaching the well. Fittingly, a lean reaction. I picked up a book at the mall today, reading Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, 1,500 pages, quite the literary Dagwood. I had to take a spotter with me to get it home. I'm not really too far into the book. Hitler is still a Mary Kay rep, but just about to enter into an unholy alliance with Tova Borgnine. Hitler, the big guy. Get the feeling he's running around hell with an all-access laminate, huh? Excuse me, pal, you can't go... Oh, sorry, Mr. Hitler. I didn't know it was you. Didn't see the very important prick pass. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go right into the Mike Todd cavern. Here's some drink tickets, all right? Speaking of the dark side, Izzy Stradlin kicked out of Guns N' Roses. What in the fuck do you have to do to get kicked out of Guns N' Roses? Huh? Hey, Slash, you want to quit shooting heroin into your cock? We're going to vote on Izzy over here. Forgot to return one of Axel's casserole dishes from that gang fuck at Savannah's house the other night. Sorry, Izzy, turn in the paddle. You're just not GNR. Guess I should tell you a little bit about myself. I killed a bear when I was 3. I ain't much for fancy book learning. I'm of Scottish extraction, very frugal people. See that? It's my grandfather's swatch. He gave it to me on his death futon, and I have a master's degree in literature. I did my thesis work on the sonnets of Nipsey Russell and some of the earlier haiku of Isaac, the Love Boat bartender. The umbrella drinks, the master of sassy jive, Isaac rules the waves. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Of course, for the uninitiated, haiku, the Green Hornet's driver. I didn't have to become a comedian. When I got out of college, all the major corporations were after me: IBM, AT&T, Cogswell Cogs, Spacely Sprocket. But the smell of the grease paint beckoned, so I went on the road for 7 years, where I worked as an opening act for the 2 little chicks in the cage from Mothra. And they didn't want to kick in for dental. Fuck it, I was gone. One night, I went into Stringfellow's nightclub, and I was approached by a man who told me he was with the John Casablancas agency, and he asked me if I'd ever considered modeling. Now, I don't even think I'm pretty. And you wouldn't either if you saw me first thing in the morning. I'm in therapy now. I have a Westonality disorder. All my childhood memories come back to me, except this much. You know, I view a visit to the therapist in much the same way I view a visit to the hairdresser. When I leave the office, my head looks great. Around an hour later, it's all fucked up, and I can't get it to look that way on my own. Excuse me, Doc, can I get a little mousse for my id? Jose Bear hat on Sigmund Freud over there in the corner. Yeah. I married. My wife and I don't see eye to eye on everything. I say tomato, and she says, oh, shut the fuck up. I'm glad I'm married. It's the right time to be married. The AIDS virus, now thought to be as difficult to isolate as the Republican Party's concern for its victims. And, yeah. One tin soldier rides away. Go ahead and hate your neighbor. When I see what you have done to this little flower, I just go berserk. My wife and I have been married 5 years. The sex is still shockingly good, although it's obviously not like when we first met. There are nights now where I have to fake an erection, and a lot of eye contact involved there. You really have to sell that to a woman. No, baby, forget about that. Little Casper took a Percodan. Don't read anything into that. Come on. It's better for me this way. Flaccidity is my milieu. Come on. I'm Flaccido Domingo, and you're my aria. Come, drink the wine. And then there are nights it's not great for her either. She'll drop little hints. Last week, I hop into bed one night, and she's lying there in a shark cage, and I'm banging my snout up against the cage. She's sticking me with that prod, you know. All the guys on the Calypso are laughing at me. Hey, fuck that. I deserve better than that. And then there are nights the sex is perfect. My wife and I had an airbag installed in the headboard of our bed, and I'm firmly convinced it saved my life. You know, men are always more precocious about sex before it actually happens, but when a woman does greenlight the sex, they go from DEFCON 5 to DEFCON 1, like that. 1 minute you're sitting there with Ted Knight's girlfriend, the next minute you got Barbarella on Spanish Fly. And, you know, men love that, because that's every man's fantasy, is to take the most erudite, urbane, witty, charming, intelligent women in the universe and reduce them to slobbering, monosyllabic beastesses. It's every guy's fantasy to have Madame Curie look up and say, hey, lover, where the purple rubber? Okay, baby, I think I will. Didn't you discover radium a couple hours ago? Get the fuck over here. Other night, I was making love to my wife, and she said, deeper, deeper. So I started whispering Nietzsche quotes into her ear. Man is a rope stretched over the abyss. She said, whoa, not that fucking deep. I'm trying to get off over here, all right? My wife and I have a son now. We had a child so we could pre-board airplanes. And I don't want to say my wife's biological clock was big, but Harold Lloyd was hanging off the minute hand. Named my son Holden, of course, after William Holden and Catcher in the Rye. And I like to float that early just to see how literate I can get. And I think I'm going to do some knock-knock jokes for you now, folks. Knock-knock. Nobody. I just love to wield that incredible Skinner box power. I can't believe I say knock-knock and you say, who's there? That is the closest I'll ever come to Jonestown. Come to me, my babies. Let me quell your pain. My son's 2.5 now. He's going through menopause. Very active, always moving, working, eager to please. I just want to lean in and go, whoa, 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 whoa. You've got the job. Kick back, take a poop, unwind. You're here. I mean, you can't leave kids alone for a second. They're into trouble, you know. You look over, he's handling deuterium-234 with a set of isotope arms. Son, have you been in Daddy's fissionable material / underwear drawer again? Went shopping for my boy today, bought him a pair of Shroud of Turin underoos, and I did not get them with the stigmata footsies because, quite frankly, I didn't think the rest of the kids at Tumble Time were ready for the wounds of Christ. Maybe that's me, maybe I'm a fidgety parent. I think the worst thing about parenting is going away from your child. I'm back on the road now, playing some rather bleak vistas. I was just down in Louisiana, working a very small rural town in Louisiana. It was the sort of town that would have broken the spirit of the Commitments. I was performing there on the campus of the University of Beyond the Pillars of Hercules. I was the guest speaker at a Little League Pro Wrestling Awards banquet, and the town was backward to the extent it made the Amish country look like Havana in the late 50s. They thought je ne sais quoi was the name of the creature who lived in the swamp. Ever notice every small town has that one weird bus stop you drive by and you look over and there's just such an amazing conglomeration of aberrant humanity that you think to yourself, wow, where in the fuck does that bus go? What concentric circle of Dante's Inferno is that Joe Franklin panel heading for? It's all the people who sit in the first 3 rows at a Gallagher concert on the off chance he'll use the sledge-o-matic that night. Here, cover up with a slip and slide. You don't want to get melon squishings on you. We're part of it. We're part of his act. Don't you squish that Twinkie on me, Mr. G. Sorry, sometimes when I go into the character, it's very hard to come back out. I've been off my feed since Sanford Meisner died. I'm always the most frightened of the guys at the bus stop. They're always hunched over, holding gym bags with no high school affiliation on them. They've all got those bad, achy, breaky shag haircuts where they look like Jane Fonda in Clute. You know something, folks? We got to hit these people hard. We got to hit them right up front. We got to hit them where it hurts the most, at their pod dispersal stations, their hatcheries. I hate to get Orwellian, but there's some movements you have to stop right up front. You killed a baby chimpanzee, Roddy McDowell's never born, Charlton Heston never finds the Statue of Liberty on the beach, all right? And subsequently, Vic Buono and the missile heads never take over the core of the planet. But hey, why bring Jimmy Franciscus into this if we don't have to? A lot of home movie cameras in those small towns, huh? I think you should have to prove your life is interesting enough to warrant purchasing one of these cameras. All these B-grade Sergei Eisensteins running around videotaping the Astrovan Potemkin. Okay, then I'll rack focus to the turtle wax decanter. Where's my mini generator? Daddy, it's heavy, it's heavy. Shut up! Never question me in front of the goddamn crew. Honey, hurry with that weed whacker. I'm losing my light. I was in a deli down there. You always overhear the most amazing splashes of conversation. I heard these 2 guys talking in a deli. The one guy said, you know, I wish I had one of those laser swords from Star Wars. I'd buy bulk bologna and cut it down for sandwiches. Well, obviously, you've got a stranglehold on the whole Jedi magic principle there, don't you, Obi-Wan Canal of Loaf? Been traveling a lot. I just got back from the Vatican, kind of disillusioning. They had a Hard Rock. I flew in here today in a very small airplane. I believe it was Fred McMurray's car from Son of Flubber. And limited baggage space on the plane. Stewardess came on the PA and said, all carry-on must fit in the ass of the person in front of you. And needless to say, I lost a bag. And I gained a friend and confidant for life. Flight almost didn't take off. We were picketed by a Right to Life group after our captain had to abort a takeoff. And, yeah. Hey, but who amongst us is wise enough to know when flight really begins? Food was a little dicey. I had the swordfish of Damocles, and then halfway through the flight, we just missed having a mid-air collision at 36,000 feet with a jacked-up Ford Bronco. I saw the other driver was Lando Calrissian, and he gave me the finger and hit hyperspace, that fucker. Hey, they're not turning that flight attendant population over like they used to, are they, huh? Oh, man. Next to these people, the Supreme Court justices are temps, okay? We had a guy and a gal on our flight today that made Hume Cronin and Jessica Tandy look like Pebbles and Bam Bam. Instead of playing the guess the halfway point in the flight game, we ran a carbon-14 test on them and traced them back to the Jurassic period where they got their start on the back of a pterodactyl. Coffee, tea, fire. You know, I feel sorry for in the whole air travel scenario is that poor bastard who has to drive the jetway. You know, that little accordion tentacle that comes out to meet the plane? Ouch. Everybody else is Waldo peppering around in their Bobby Lansing leather bomber jackets, the right stuff coursing through their veins as they push the outside of the envelope. Your job is to drive the fucking building. Damn it, Jimmy, pull out, you're insane! You can't take it in. Those yellow guidelines on the tarmac have just been dusted over with 1/18 of an inch of freshly driven powder. Pull out, Jimmy! Pull out! Negative, Johnny, I'm taking it in, so hang on. You're in for the wildest 12 to 13 and a half feet of your life, flyboy. Highway to the danger zone. Well, they apologize a lot on the flight now, don't they? These people say we're sorry more than Exxon's field rep in Alaska. Swear to God, if the plane ever does go down, that's the last thing you'll hear. This is your captain speaking. You're about to bite it. Sorry about that. Your last drink's on us, okay? Yeah, stewardess, I'll have a Diet Coke. Well, fuck it. Give me a Coke. What? You know, I sat next to not long ago on a flight was Gerard Depardieu. And you know something? If this guy's the biggest sex symbol in France, that whole Jerry Lewis thing is starting to make a lot of sense to me, okay? This guy was as big as a fucking building. I thought it was Masada in a bad Ava Gabor wig. He was so fat, I began to doubt the very physics of air travel. I had to consult those Da Vinci parchments just to assuage my fear. You know, a guy like that must hate to lose his wallet because not only is there that horrible moment when you realize it's gone, it's like, hey, my wallet's gone, and Christ, is my ass huge. When did that happen, Cahotek? I'm gonna start running burro rides down to the base of the crack of my ass, yeah. We'll camp out overnight, get up early, and head for Prostate Gulch, sure. We can visit the SAC base under Mount Baldy, okay. A lot of qualifications to sit next to that exit door now, huh? When did that happen? I've been a klutz. I've been sitting there. Nobody said a word to me. I'm like Clouseau. All of a sudden, I got to be a fucking Navy SEAL. Guess they want to make sure the person sitting there doesn't panic in the event the flight goes down in water. Item number 8 on the qualification list was you must not beat Ted Kennedy. So, yeah. Well, good for you. I heard some people moan, though. It's funny to me how reflexively protective we are of the Kennedys, huh? They really are our royalty. That always amazes me. And I'm not sure it's warranted because there's a faction in that family that has a track record like Jimmy Page, okay? They might as well just go ahead and name their next grandchild Alleged. And you know something? Teddy... Teddy Kennedy is the worst of the lot. This guy has that Melvin Dumar credibility. At this point in his life, he can't look a fucking cyclops in the eye. And, you know, we still protect him. We're like little serfs down in the field picking truffles for that evening's feast. You look up, Teddy's hanging naked off the drawbridge, sucking Altered States hallucino paste out of some young wench's mead cup. Oh, don't look, Master Kennedy's fucking again. Don't look, don't look. Well, you know something? Maybe you've forgiven him his sexual capecnadillos, but the fact is, I find his alibis about as flimsy as a Victoria's Secret camisole, and I think his recent marriage was just a smokescreen he threw up because he knew he couldn't maintain an election anymore. And you know something? If he's, Yeah. And if he's such a ladies' man, why does it take him 9 hours to open a woman's car door for her, okay? Now, you can moan, but I think I'm on the right side of that one. Although I realize by saying that out loud on national TV, I risk becoming the first guy to ever get assassinated by a Kennedy. But you know something? I think he stepped over the line this last time in Florida. As a parent, I was offended by the fact that evidently he was trying to get laid in front of his own son. You know, if I had ever seen my dad's dick, I would have had to blow my fucking head off, all right? Just the thought of my dad running into the room in those black knee-high socks and that little dad dickhead flopping around. Oh, for Christ's sake, Dad, put that fucking thing away. What are you, insane? Tuck that in. I've got to fuck for the rest of my life. I don't even think my dad had a dick. I think he had some lovable little fleshy dune worm that wanted good for all people and all nations on this great planet. A little outant knob that always favored an embargo over an airstrike, damn it. Ah, that felt cathartic. According to recent census figures, whites are now officially a minority in New York City. And you know what? I am getting sick of being hassled by the man. Just do that to piss Spike Lee off if he's watching. Getting a little sick of this guy looking at me like I'm Jimmy Mason in Mandingo. Yeah, Spike, I can't jump and you can't lighten up, my man. It's the problem in this country now. That's the problem in this country now. Everybody takes themselves so seriously, you can't tease anybody. I read now that gay people don't even want to be called gay anymore. They now wish to be referred to as Asian. And, Hey, what's Dennis saying there, man? Is Dennis saying all Asians are gay? Is Dennis saying all gays are Asian? You know what I'm saying. All Asians are gay. Now, somewhere out there, there's an Asian person taking pen to paper in protest. I want you to hear me out. Put the pen down. It was a fucking joke, all right? It was a comment on how pathetically neurotic we've all become about our own little piece of turf. I obviously do not believe that all Asians are gay. For Christ's sake, there's a billion of you. I know somebody's fucking out there, okay? And yet, this is what it's come to in latter-day America. Everybody's broken off into these petulant little Travis Bickle tribes, constantly walking the perimeter of their own damaged self-esteem, ever vigilant against an incursion by they, them, the other guys. Everybody's encouraged to be touchy. Everybody that is but me. I'm the white Anglo-Saxon male. I'm everybody's asshole. Black people, yeah. Black people think I'm physically deficient and oppressive. Gay people think I'm latently homosexual and overly macho. Women think I'm oafish and horny, and Asians think I'm lazy and stupid. Hey, you think you got an axe to grind. I'm fucking Paul Bunyan over here, okay, folks? And you know something? And you know something? There's a principle of reciprocity here. If I'm expected to be genial, I expect that from the rest of you. Why are we so hung up on the name calling? When did that happen? We are just overgrown babies. As it turns out, adult life is just tall grade school. You suck with your mouth. Hi, my mouth. Hi, me. But you know something, folks? The playground is way back there in the mist, and we got to let it go and get on with it. Why do we get hung up on the little things? Why do we chum up the water with the minutia? Well, I have a theory. I think that we're far less evolved than we think we are. I know we fancy ourselves as 90s creatures who take it all in, deal with it, put it all back out, nothing phases us, and I think we're full of shit. I think on a deep level, we look at the world around us and we think it's a fucking madhouse and we've lost complete control. We're scared out of our wits. We watch CNN daily and we see things we have no idea how to get our head around. The children in Somalia, the atrocities in Bosnia, Califragilisticexpialidocious. I think this stuff gets us right here and we think, my God, we've lost it. So what we do is we take all the little things and we trump them up into things that bigger than they actually are, so that we can control them and mold them, and in some vague way, keep our feet tethered to the planet. This is how we get hung up on something like Madonna's book. Who gives a shit about Madonna's book? You know something? If Madonna wants to pose naked with two old bald lesbians who look like the singer from Midnight Oil and the lead ensemble player from Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes, who gives a shit? Why do we stick our nose into everything like this? I just don't understand it. When did this entire country turn into Gladys Kravitz from Bewitched? Now, Barbra Streisand, singer, actress, and newly anointed societal auteur, has designated a certain state in the Union that she wishes us not to visit. Well, thank you, Barbara. I don't remember you consulting me when you cast yourself in Yentl. Now, obviously, her heart's in the right place on this, but she's going about it in the wrong way. We have a mechanism in this country for overturning bad laws. It's called the vote. Can't we let the democracy breathe, for Christ's sake? What would Streisand have us do now? Begin to treat Coloradans like she's afraid Coloradans are going to treat homosexuals? Now, let's see. Colorado's out. Phoenix is out. We better watch ourselves. The only place left will be a big jammy party out at Barbara's place in Malibu Canyon. But you know something? That will never happen because other than telling you exactly what to do with your life, Barbra Streisand doesn't want to have a fucking thing to do with you, folks. Okay? Yeah. Call Barbara's publicist. Tell him you'd like to get together with her for a couple hours and discuss the plight of the common man. You got a better chance of hooking up with Amelia Earhart, okay, folks? We trivialize everything in this country. Women's issues, with all the serious inequities being heaped on women, the inequality in pay, the brutalization at the hands of incomplete male monsters, what do we focus on? The freak show, the bullshit, Clarence Thomas and the pubic hair and the coke, the paranoid feminist groups telling you to beware of everything male, and everything comes down to male sexual aggression, the dreaded Heimlich come on. The New England Patriots locker room situation. This is Lindbergh, baby, headlines in this country for 2 months. Why? A couple second stringers dangle their Johnsons in some female reporter's face. She's so traumatized she has to move out of the fucking country. There's that Margaret Borkwhite spirit, huh? Evidently she's in an eye brushed up against it clinic in Lugano, Switzerland or something. Well, let me advance the radical theory that she shouldn't have been in the locker room. And the reason she shouldn't have been in the locker room is that she shouldn't have wanted to be in the locker room. Women in this country will make their greatest strides when they begin to realize there's certain bullshit male rituals that they shouldn't want to have a fucking thing to do with. Come on. Peel back the mask, it's Camille Paglia, but come on! You're better than that, for Christ's sake. Don't you see? We've botched it. We're horrible at it. You got to take back the power here. Don't you read anything into the cosmic tip-off that you are the life givers? You are the ones that have to step in and save us. Shoot for the big piñata. Fuck the MacGuffin. You're 52% of the electorate. Fuck the locker room. Vote the Arlen Specters out of office. And you know something? If you really want to break the back of male domination in this country, get together and collectively cut us off. Because you see, you love the fuck, but we need the fuck, okay? And you should deny us en masse the great American poke out. I guarantee you, within 2 weeks, you will rule the country. If you thought... If you thought Renfield was blindly allegiant to Dracul, we will be the Stepford penises, all right? And the first step you have to take is to take back control of your own bodies. Now, I hope you all saw the signal flare go off last week. The Right to Life movement, or a member of it, killed a doctor. Let me use their own terminology against them. They aborted a child in the 200th trimester. Now, you know something? I don't even believe in abortion, but more importantly, I don't believe in the right to a life without any rights. And I think many of the people in the Right to Life movement should get a fucking life before they begin to tell other people what to do with theirs. And you know something? And you know something? The Right to Life people would have a lot more credibility with me if so many of them weren't cross-enrolled in the National Rifle Association, okay? We have got a serious gun problem in this country, folks, and until we confront it, we will never be considered a great civilization. Now, I know the gun lobby has done a brilliant job of attaching guns to apple pie, God, and motherhood. But you know that's bullshit just as much as I know it's bullshit. If you let the mothers of this world vote on guns tomorrow, they will be nothing more than a sad memory. And don't give me that stuff about God and guns. I've read the Bible. I know God didn't carry a gun. And don't tell me it was ancient times and guns didn't exist. He was God. I think he could have fucking invented one had he wanted to, all right? NRA has their cute little bumper sticker, "You'll get my gun when you pry it from my cold, dead hand." Whatever. In a perfect world, this is what happens. We get hung up on the little things, the big things walk right by us, and we don't even frisk them. Charles Keating, how did we let this man pillage the elderly of this country for over a decade? Why weren't we protecting the innocents? Because we were hung up on the bullshit, the name-calling. And now that it's time for him to go to prison, we're all going to get squeamish about that, too. Well, you know something? I'm not. Because this guy is so far in karma receivership, I hope he fucking rots in prison. And you know something? It's going to be a brutal transition for Mr. Keating from the SNL to the S&M, because you get on the other side of that wall, and inside trading takes on a whole new meaning, all right? Hey, everybody, this is my bitch, Charlie. He's good at figuring. There's a guy, and he's here to stay, and they call him Charlie. Kind of free, kind of wild. Charlie, kind of always saying, "Ow, Charlie." And you know something? I don't even feel like a yahoo saying that. When I was younger, I might have been embarrassed by that sentiment. But as I get older, I get less idealistic. And it becomes obvious to me, as I'm sure it becomes obvious to most of you folks, that there are just some evil motherfuckers on this planet. And we got to stop bending over backwards to appease them. We play by the rules, and they piss on our head. And it's time for us to take back the power. The savings and loan crisis is going to cost you and I. We're going to pay for it. It is conservatively estimated $200 billion. Billion. Can you really grasp that figure? Let me put it in layman's terms for you, folks. If there was only one guy in this country, he'd have to kick in $200 billion. All right? Just wanted to cut through the haze. Now, I'm supposed to take Manuel Noriega to my bosom. After a lifetime of rumored pedophilia, murdering anybody he didn't agree with, he finds God, and I'm supposed to embrace him in the fellowship of man. Well, fuck that. I hate to get Werner Erhardian, but there is accountability in the universe, and I'm not buying it. Says he found Jesus in a Dade County, Florida correctional facility. You know, Manny, I don't want to piss on your parade, baby, but every other guy in that place is named Jesus, okay? So I don't think I'd read a lot into that. Now, some people would question this material, question whether it's heretical, question my belief in Christ. I happen to fancy myself a Christian. My Christianity isn't predicated on not looking into things that I don't understand. It isn't predicated on whether or not I say the word fuck. But I do have a God that I believe in, and I pray to him daily. I thank him for the good things he gives me, and I ask him for forgiveness. It's just that I happen to believe that my God finds me incredibly fucking funny. And that, of course, is why I chose him as my God. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with being shallow as long as you're insightful about it. Saddam Hussein, can you believe we have to go through this bullshit again? Can you believe we have to uproot parents from their children and send them into the desert to duel with this madman? Why? Come on. You can't kill this guy. He's like the dismembered knight in Monty Python's Holy Grail. We had him dead to rights. He's the worst soldier in the history of the planet. Last time I saw a battle plan like that, I was playing Stratego with Judy Landers. Come on. This guy's Wile E. Coyote in a red beret. We were stomping him like a naked fat guy at Altamont, and we pulled back. Why? I'll tell you why. It allows us to believe that we're more civilized than he is. And you know something? That's the basic problem. That's where we go wrong. We are not more civilized than him on an unconscious level. We're the ones that stray away from that. I think all men, deep down, are both the most noble and depraved creatures in the history of the planet, often in the same 10-second period, and I'm very comfortable with my Paleolithic underpinnings. I like my caveman side, and the way I look at it is if somebody stumbles into the water hole and starts giving the stink eye to the rest of the herd, you pick up the nearest tree branch, smack them over the fucking head, and fling it to the heavens in Kubrickian glee, and I'm okay with that. We've got so goddamn civilized, the world is going to hell in a handbasket. Look at Los Angeles, where I live. There's a dysfunctional little metropolis, huh? This place is the gunfight at the I'm Not Okay Corral. L.A. makes Blade Runner look like a Norman Rockwell litho. Tensions are so high between the cops and the civilians in L.A. I'll be honest with you, I'm not mocking this up for a joke. I'm scared shitless of these guys. I get pulled over by a cop in L.A., I don't even fuck around. I just wind the window down and blow the guy, okay? I don't want anybody misinterpreting my body language or getting a bad read on my intentions. Give me that, officer. Go ahead. Write that up right on top of my head, all right? I was going to beat the shit out of him, but he was blowing me. What was I going to do? He had my dick in his skull. I risked damaging my own dick by hitting him in the head. Hit him on the side of the head, Bobby. Hey, yeah, that's not bad, huh? Joey, give me your stick. Whoa, yeah. Hey, everybody, I'm the Energizer Rabbit. Look. He keeps blowing and blowing and blowing. Yeah. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say might be garbled. Whoa! Look, it's Abner, the sexually eccentric. Killer bees have moved up from South America, are now in Texas, taking jobs away from American bees. And who's going to save us from the madness? Who's going to lead us out of the darkness and into the light? Billy Clinton? I pray to God. I hope so. If you're watching, Mr. Clinton, I wish you the best. I'm not looking for you to fail. I hope you save us all, but I'm not getting that vibe yet, man. You know? Says he knew he wanted to be president when he was 16. You know, when I was 16, I wanted to get my fucking van detailed, all right? Always got that forced grin on his face. Looks like a guy who's getting his back teeth x-rayed, and they asked him to chomp down on that film plate, you know? And I worry about his health. He's always got that raspy cough. You know, he's president now. You think he'd learn how to avoid drafts. Hey, Billy. Bill, I don't mind you bullshitting me. Just don't lie to me like I'm Montel Williams, okay? It's my homage to Belzer. Al Gore? Yeah, the bells. Give it up. Yeah. Al Gore? There's some stiff body language, huh? Guy makes Ed Sullivan look like an autofellatio freak. I thought the choice between Clinton and Bush was like the choice between airline food and hospital food. Both of them will keep you alive, but neither one of them has you floating up in the air like that cartoon dog after he ate the biscuit. But at least Clinton's one of us. At least he's had a joint in his hand. Wants me to believe he didn't inhale it. Gosh! I wish I were a baby bumblebee. At least he's had it in his hand, though. Do you know how silly this is going to look years from now, that we make these people do this dance about whether or not they smoke pot? Are you not embarrassed that we do that to these people? Come on, who didn't pass through that era and smoke a joint? Do you remember the fuckheads who wouldn't touch the reefer? Is that the person you want at the helm of this country? Hey, come on. 20 years from now, you're going to have guys running for president saying, yeah, sure, I snorted heroin. I didn't shoot it, for Christ's sake. It was stepped on. It was shitty. You know, what I love about Clinton is how amazed we are that he can play that saxophone. We just look at him. We can't believe we actually have a president who can fucking do something. We're just looking up at him. He can play that. If he can speak Spanish, I'll shit myself. This guy is incredible. Loves Fleetwood Mac, although I'm sure he rues the day he ever told us that little nugget of information. We jam that song down his throat every chance we get. Thank God he didn't like ABBA, because I think that Fernando thing might drive me into expatriatism, all right? I like his wife. I think she's a good woman. I think we should get off her back. So what? We didn't vote for her. We need smart people now. Maybe she can help. I think she's a pretty good dame. They're already calling her the good Yoko, though, so you know they're... But he needs all the help he can get. He got a lot of problems facing him, not the least of which is the fact that Bush left the club attached to the steering wheel of the White House limousine, and the club, now in designer colors. I love the image of somebody sitting at home saying, yeah, well, sure, I'd love to have the club, but come on, not in red. Now in lime green for the discerning paranoid. Our country is looking at a recession akin to the one affecting the hairline of the lead singer from the group Fine Young Cannibals. We have a complete gridlock in Congress. Looking up at Capitol Hill is like looking up at that Escher print of the wild geese flying together. It makes no fucking sense, and occasionally it shits on your head. And so I hope he's surrounding himself with good people, although I'm getting a little bit of a freaky vibe off that cabinet he's assembled, huh? Starting to look like the Geek Follies that opened for the Lollapalooza tour last year. See the new Attorney General? Wow. Lithgow in Garp. Man, you get the feeling there are no nanny troubles in that past, huh? Warren Christopher looks like the guy from Monk's painting the Scream after he's had electroshock treatments. Lloyd Benson had to leave his job as the grandfather clock in the Captain Kangaroo show, and who's that little guy, Reich, always running around? What is he, secretary of the Lollipop League, or what's happening there? But I hope they're good people because they got a lot of patch-up work to do. I'm not saying the former President Bush was a bad man. I think it's obvious, though, towards the end, he had his elbow planted firmly on the pulse of the American people. He had to know it was over towards the end when he'd be out on campaign stops. They'd pull up and the crowd would be singing, "Na, na, na, na." I think the Republicans fucked themselves at their own convention. That was an ugly little scene, huh? What was that? What was that? Caligula's barn raising? And whose bright idea was it to let Pat Buchanan speak, huh? Yeah, let's give the pyromaniac the Zippo. If Pat Buchanan had been a tribunal at Nuremberg, he would have listened to testimony detailing the Nazi atrocities and said, "And?" This guy makes Max Cady look like Atticus Finch. Pat Buchanan is so homophobic he blames global warming on the AIDS quilt. You know something? I was a Perot man, and the crazier that little bastard got, the more I wanted to vote for him, all right? Yeah. Set the controls and steer for the center of the sun, you demented little Tolkien character with a gold card. I was ready to follow this Simon Bar sinister replicant right into the jaws of hell. Had that streamlined little tyrant skull that I just love in a despot. He looked like Sergeant Carter with all the moisture sucked out of his body. And he shot from the hip replacement. And you know something? That's what fucked him in the end. You can't talk like that in this country. They're not ready for that. You know they were going to paint him as a paranoid asshole. You just knew it was going to happen as soon as he started making sense like that. It's like the guy who invents the engine that runs on salt water. You know they're going to silk-wit his brake line within a week and a half. And how did we go after Ross Perot? In a really ugly way. We went after James Stockdale. Now, I know Stockdale has become a buzzword in this culture for a doddering old man, but let's look at the record, folks. This guy was the first guy in and the last guy out of Vietnam, a war that many Americans, including your new president, chose not to dirty his hands with. The reason he had to turn his hearing aid on at that debate is because those fucking animals knocked his eardrum out when he wouldn't spill his guts. He teaches philosophy at Stanford University. He's a brilliant, sensitive, courageous individual, and yet he committed, I don't want to turn it into a rally, but he committed the one unpardonable sin in our culture. He was bad on television. And Patty Chayefsky must be laughing his ass off out there. And we should be ashamed of ourselves. Could he have been our vice president? Of course he could have been our vice president. You think Al Gore's a charismatic visionary? His favorite film is Tron, for Christ's sake. And how hard could this job be? Look who did it for the last 4 years. Dan Quayle's head is emptier than a Jack-in-the-Box in downtown Seattle. He shouldn't have been second in command of the Hakawi tribe from F Troop, much less the third most powerful nation on the face of this planet. He always had that freshly tasered Norma Desmond look on his face. His eyes are glazed over like band roll-on applicators. And this is not to say I won't miss Dan Quayle, because to me he was the Rosetta Stone of contemporary American comedy. But let's face facts. He deserved the vice presidency like Elvis deserved this black belt, all right? I always thought of Quayle was like Dan Tanner's assistant Binzer on the old Vegas show. You let him answer the phone, but he does not drive the T-Bird. And you know something? He's thinking of running for president 4 years, hence the day Dan Quayle's our president is the day Shelley Winters runs with the Bulls at Pamplona. Thank you. Good night. Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. You summoned me, my liege? As you get older, you learn not to wait too long for that. And now, from the wonderful Broadway musical, Starlight Express, this is the Caboose's Lament. Actually, we have a very narrow window here of time, and I have to move on, but I wanted to say thank you to you. I want to thank all the people at home. I want to thank the folks at HBO for having me. I want to thank our country for allowing me to come into the nation's capital, piss off on the government like this.